Cool. I'm glad you guys enjoyed that. So some new code and then an assignment. And the new assignment, I gave you another one. Wasn't doing those for a while. Is to we did the code improvement, so you can now kind of add that up, and it tells you what repo to kind of build that off of. And then add following and followed. So Daniel and I got together on Saturday and spent a couple hours and built Twitter out most of the way. And the last bit that needs to be done is just add following and followed, and it's not too far of a reach to get that done. And so you guys could add that in and then just submit your GitHub repo for credit on that. And whenever you get to it, there's no hard deadline on that, just before the end of the semester. So pretty cool. Thought we'd take a look at, I added in, so you can see here, this is all under the Twitter. Twitter has 37 steps in it already. And this 37 step is code from summer boot camp. So this is Daniel's take on Twitter. I thought I'd just throw that in there so you could kind of see how Daniel executed it over summer. And, this code might not be perfect because this is only the third week or day 14. No, day 11. Daniel's 11 days new to the language right there. So it might not be perfect, but it's still really good. And Tommy also, I thought, did a really nice job. This is a very Ajax implementation of Twitter. So you can look at Tommy's code. And Tommy's a really interesting guy. I'm not sure. Does he go to Fresno State? I don't think he does. Anybody know Tommy? But he works all night at UPS. And then he'd show up at 9. Boot camp started at 8. He'd show up at 9, 9:30. And then just pump out some amazing code. And it's whoa, who are you? That's really nice. Right? And then here's my implementation, which I didn't feel like it qualified having my whole name on it. So I was just I was a little bit struggling, trying to get that done at summer boot camp. So, but I basically put that up there for myself, so I could go back and look at how was I thinking about that the first time. But that's maybe not a very good example. And so I thought let's take a look at where we got with it with Daniel. And I think one of the most interesting things is just storing the tweet. And then pulling the tweet out and showing it, and then seeing just the user's tweet, which I finished out after Halloween was over. So 56 and 36, and go app serve. And we'll take a little look at some of the code. And I'm not sure where we left off with class. Maybe up here we left off at code review. Yeah. Password protection, so I added in Corey's password protection encryption right there. And then we turned off all the memcache stuff with the templates, just because now if we're showing posts on the home page, that's always going to be changing. So what's the point of templating that if it's always, or caching that in memcache if it's always changing? Do we have that off for any other reason? It gets rid of some of the complexity.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier to code if you don't have to worry about accidentally having an old version cached.
Yeah.
It makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah, so we got rid of that. And then we did the modal. So we got the modal integrated where it comes up and it lets you kind of put in your tweet. And then we were just getting tweets to go into the data store and then displaying all the tweets. And then we humanized the timestamp. And so humanize is a third-party package that will give you when was this posted instead of some crazy date stamp. It says a second ago, a moment ago, a day ago, right? So that's a humanized package. And then I built in Schmidt params, and so the Julian Schmidt router, which trip out, right? Which this was kind of interesting. I was did I show you guys this? Did I show you who Julian Schmidt is? No? So I was well, who is this Julian Schmidt guy? He wrote this thing, and a lot of people are using it, and it's it was even Caleb was oh, this router's great, Not that those weren't his exact words. I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but he was using it, and so that's an implicit endorsement. What? His picture's gone. He used to have a picture. But where did I find out about this guy? Julian Schmidt, right here, and I don't know.
Maybe if you go to the QR code.
That's his face. That's his face right there.
Yep, ones and zeros.
Whatever. That story I was going to tell you is no longer there. Maybe I'm getting confused with another 2 a.m. story in my head where I looked up somebody else.
Maybe, or he's in the process of changing all of it around.
All right, so let's take a look at the deal. Localhost 8080. Whoa. So here you can see, like, a user somebody, and I think somebody's pretty witty. Nobody wants to be nobody. Everybody wants to be somebody. If everybody was happy being nobody, then somebody would be happy. That's a quote I heard somewhere sometime, or the best I can recollect of it. So there's all somebody's posts, and then I had Cowboy, who's another user, and right, all of their posts, and you can see the humanized thing 2 days ago, 1 day ago, right? And so if I come up here and I log in, and I think that pretty much I'll do Cowboy because we just had a whole bunch from 1, 2, 3.
Just like the Google login.
That's what I wanted, man. That's what I wanted. So here's the tweet with the modal, and here is a post from Cowboy. Does anybody know where I can find some whiskey, a 6-shooter, and a horse? That's a little bit funny, was it not? Right, and so here's a post from Cowboy. Does anybody know where I can find some whiskey, a 6-shooter, and a horse? 1 second ago, right? And then I could come up here and I could do a /user, and I could put in the user's name, right? And so when I put in the user's name, we're going to see somebody's posts disappear. Somebody's posts are going to disappear. Not going to say who, but it's going to be somebody's. And only Cowboy's posts will be there, right? Or I could say, I could put in somebody's username up here. I get that sense of humor from my dad, because when he's a kid, he grew up like, total Charles Dickens, like, what's the kid who's the pauper and lives in the streets, and Oliver Twist, thank you, duh. And but it's like the country version of Oliver Twist is my dad's existence. They had nothing, totally dirt poor. And so for fun, they would race sticks in the river and name the sticks horses' names and pretend it's a horse race and see which stick floated faster than the others, and that would be the winner. That was like one of their games. And so he'd name his horses' names like, third or third place. And so it'd be like, and third place is in first. I don't know. Funny. So there's somebody's post, right? Or you could go back to the main page and you see everybody's. And interestingly, I don't know if I fixed this, but this is on nobody. If we have nobody, right? Okay, it doesn't error out, so that's good. So it just doesn't show anything. But it'd be better if we got 0 there that displayed, this user is not found, or this user has no tweets or something, right? So that's basically what I did, and then you just need to add a button up here to follow. And then if you're logged in as somebody, you might be able to see who's following you and who you followed, and then be able to follow people. That's actually pretty involved, right? Pretty involved to do that. So to look at some of that code, what parts of that do you want to see, right? Because both Daniel and I were like, wow, this is getting pretty involved. Like, how do we start doing a code walkthrough? Like, we could do each of these steps at once. We already saw password encryption. Turn off memcache is going to be pretty straightforward. Modal post tweet is all HTML, CSS. There's no JS in there, and that's pretty interesting. We tried to get it to go with JS. We're like, oh, let's rewrite that in JS, but then, after struggling with that for like a half hour, 40 minutes, we're like, screw it, let's just leave it at HTML, CSS. Usually modals are done with JS. The advantage of doing it this way with HTML and CSS is that if, for the new way that Google's saying with accelerated mobile pages, don't create custom JS on your page, or limiting JS is better.
Not to mention JS is slow and insecure. So.
Not to mention JS is slow and insecure. So that's pretty cool. And basically what it does is it for the modal templates here and modal, and so here is like modal, and we have an ID open modal and class modal dialog. And then if you look in the CSS, we have the modal tweet. And then one of them here is opacity, right? Modal dialog opacity 1. And then up here, opacity modal dialog is opacity 0. So right here, you can't see it, right? It's not there. It's invisible. And that's modal dialog. That's the class that's applied. And when it gets target, right? So target is basically meaning what? What's target mean?
That's when the hashtag in the URL is matching the ID.
Is that how it's working still?
Yeah.
We were kind of playing with that, weren't we? Tweet. Yeah, so right here, right, hashtag is up there. So that now has target. So opacity just went to 1, so you can now see it. So when you're not there, right, that thing is always there. You just can't see it.
Can we talk a little bit about the
But-
functionality of following?
Yeah, let's talk about the functionality of following. That's great.
Because I think that'll help in understanding just how you're supposed to be approaching this.
Great.
So you want a following button up there. When you press that button, what should happen?
Well, I think one thing is we need to go to the user, right? And when you go to a user, when you go to this page, maybe follow cowboy or something right up here, right? And so when you follow, then whatever user you're logged in as, right? That user is now following whatever user you just asked to follow. And so you can kind of picture some sort of structure in the data store, right, where it's going to be an ancestor query, right? So we have users. So let's just look at the data store here. Localhost 8,000, data viewer, and we have users, right? And so here are the users. And then we also have right here tweets. And so here are the tweets. And you can see, we just have some data redundancy there, right? This has no way connected saying, hey, this is, but so we just thought it's going to be easier when we just pull one thing to have that name stored there also. And then we don't have to pull this and then pull that and recursively do it for.
Yeah, we could have go into one of the keys.
Yeah, but then in here what you could see is right here it says username, parent, username, user's name, cowboy. So this is I don't know what you call it, a descendant, right? It's a child, this post, which means that when you want to pull out a tweet, right, because we were just looking at tweets right here, that's the kind. When you want to pull out a tweet, you could do what's an ancestor query. And that's that last argument you pass in to the query deal. So let me think. That's probably in tweets. And just looking here. So that's nil. And getting the tweets, data store, new key, ancestor right here, right? Ancestor, query ancestor. And so we're saying this query, data store, new query, tweets, right? So we're getting a new query. And we're doing it for tweets. And then here we get the user, right? And we could say, make that an ancestor query. And that ancestor query then will give me just the tweets of whichever user key I passed in there, right? And we're getting that off of username, building the key off of username. And so you could do the same thing with, you could set up a descendant sort of data structure, just like tweets. And so, it'd be like following. And so you can see this user is following, this other user, this other user, this other user. And then you can pull out all those. And so when you're here, right, you come here, I could follow this person, right? And then if I went to, me or something, or my account, or logged in, I guess my account would be a good one. And you could go to following or something and just list all the people you're following. And then when you clicked on one of the people you're following, it could take you back to just, that person, and you could see their tweets. And maybe on your homepage, you could have, just the posts of the people you're following, and then a little line, delimiting it, and then like other tweets from other people or something. Whatever you want to do with it.
One more question about data consistency.
Yeah.
Can you follow yourself? Can
Sure.
you follow the same user twice?
I follow myself all day long. I think I find myself actually I listen to my tweets more than anybody else in the world. I don't know. That wouldn't make sense from a real standpoint, but don't worry. Don't sweat the fine points.
Okay.
This is just an exercise to get in and use it. And if you want to sweat it, do it. Go for it. But like even Daniel and I were kind of like, good enough.
Yeah. I mean, just, make this functionality. Well, that concept was a little vague in itself, so figured best to be, exclusive.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Alan. That's great. So should we point anything out?
I believe my code from the GitHub's got following and followed if Todd got the version.
Yeah, I think so. Where would that be in main?
So yeah, the data structures are up above, and it's probably in there. Tree profile data. Yeah, profile data. I'm just using I'm not actually sure how I'm doing it.
Following, Isn't that funny?
Okay, yeah, profile. There's following is an array of strings.
There
so
you go.
I'm just using that. So another, I believe Caleb used a separate struct that had a this person is following that person. That way you can easily query on it, so you can see who's following you in addition to who you are following easily and rapidly. So there's a bunch of different ways to do it.
Yeah.
So
That was kind of the way I was thinking initially. I mean, there was a little bit more data in the data storage, but it would be really easy to query on, like you said.
which can be important.
Yeah.
Cool. Does anybody want to see any of anything in this code? Do you want us just to show you some stuff, or do you want us to start? We could, in 15 minutes, 10 minutes, we could start the following followed.
I think we
And you
should
can see
show
that process.
we should show them the humanized thing and how we attach it to the template system.
That's a good thing to show them. So that is also in here. So you could add, this is kind of wacky. So Daniel, if you could explain this to help me understand it a little more. Like I don't fully have my head around it. But we have, we create a variable TPL, and we say it's of this type. And it's from the template package, it's of type template, and we're doing a pointer to it. So that's the type of the variable TPL, right?
It starts off as nil because it's 0 value.
Starts out as nil because it's 0 value, and it's a reference to nothing. And then we have we go down here, and first time we use TPL is we go template new, and we just give it a name.
It can be whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
You might be able to make it an empty string even. I'm not sure.
And if you look at what new does, new allocates a new HTML template with the given name. So that's where it starts to feel a little bit redundant. Like, okay, well, but here we say here's a variable. There's nothing in it. And now we're putting something in it. And what we're putting in it is a new template. Allocates a new HTML template with the given name, right? And so the name we gave to it, we now have TPL, a variable, storing a pointer to a type template, right? And even new returns, if I got a new dog, it's a pointer, I named him 0, right? So new returns a pointer to the 0 value. So we're creating a new template, and we're giving it a name. And so that's all stored in here now.
Yep. So yeah, the template.new function, we use that instead of just the plain new thing because the template.new does some other initialization stuff too. It doesn't give you a 0 value string. It gives you, it doesn't give you a 0 value template. It
doesn't? My new analogy is going away?
Yeah. It's not the standard new, generic new function. It's template new. So it'll fill it out with something. Not sure what, but
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Yeah, right, because I'm not doing like new and then new int or something, right?
Yeah.
Got it. And thank you for that clarification. And then we have TPL, and then we could do .funcs. And so what does .funcs do? Funcs adds the elements of the argument map. So here's an argument map, right, to the template's function map. It panics if a value in the map is not a function with appropriate return type. However, it is legal to overwrite elements of the map. The return value is the template, so calls can be changed. So we get a pointer to a template back. And
so it takes an argument func map, which is right above there. Func map is a map from strings to empty interface.
There we go. That's what it takes in.
So there are some limitations. It must be a function, and the function must return either a string or both a string and an error. And it must take in, I think, a single. I don't think it has any restrictions on what it takes in, though.
I'm just looking for that string part. And it's here right there.
It's a map. Oh, for the
The return, yeah. Must either have a single return value or 2 return values, which the second type has an error.
Okay.
I'm not questioning, doubting you.
So
I'm
yeah,
just-
so
just
anything.
curious.
So the first thing that comes out must be something that template can turn into a string, if it's not a string by itself.
So then we get right here, so template funcs, and then it takes a template func map, and here's our map, key value right there, composite literal, right, with the key and the value. And so we're saying that this key, we have humanize.time, and humanize is a package, and time is this, right? It's a function. And notice we're not calling that instantly, right? We're just assigning that right there. We're not executing it. We're not, does that make sense? And so when you do that, you can then do template, must, template, parse glob, all of your templates, stores it in template.
Note this is now TPL right before parse glob and not template. Because
Yeah.
before you could use template at parse glob, and that's creating the template and parsing. But we
Yeah.
already have the template already available because our template knew earlier.
Okay, that just clicked a little bit for me. I just had an aha moment. Thank you. That made sense. So then, we parse all of our templates. And now when we use our templates, so I'm using that on my main page for showing the times. And I could use this function, humanize time. And basically that's the way it is. It humanized time, and it takes an argument, and it takes time. And I'm guessing. I haven't actually looked that up.
Yep.
And if I look at that function, it takes time, right? And so then it'll return a string. And so that string, you could run that function right in the template, right? So that's how you use a function in a template. And you could kind of go crazy putting functions right in templates, but Caleb was like, you know what? You should be doing most of your processing over, in Go. And your template should just be, here's the data, and there's the output.
Yeah, the template system has to parse that. It has to be able to read this text, humanize time, recognize that's a single token, and then use that to look it up in the map. And then it has to run the function. It's like, if you can get it done in the Go stuff's going line by line. It doesn't have to look stuff up. So it may be faster. In this case, it's kind of it's a convenience to be able to put it here because we've already got a struct with a time in it.
Kind of feels like an alternate to JavaScript.
If you've been using Mustache or Angular before, it kind of can seem familiar, yeah.
But it doesn't execute client side. This is executing
It's still
server side
server-side.
still.
I bet
So that's cool.
The web page's source looks really interesting now.
It just has the completed after it's run through the template system.
This deal.
Oh, so you don't even know that something happened there.
No, you just look like they just gave you an HTML page that was all complete, which makes it faster because JavaScript's slow.
Yeah, it's just an HTML page.
So yeah, if you inspect a tweet, it looks like it says 7 minutes ago directly. Repeat class post meta 7 minutes ago.
That's very interesting. That is neat.
Pretty cool.
So yeah, that's how you add your own keywords to templates. You must make sure you call functions before you do the parse glob because it has to know what the function is before it starts parsing everything. And that's why you have to call the new function directly because parse glob's got a generic function in template package, funcs does not. So you have to create the template first before you can attach funcs to it.
It definitely brings a new option to the table that could be useful sometimes.
Yeah, like right in this
Like
instance.
in this instance.
Yeah. Or you could try to figure out some way to, just convert that yourself, right? Like to write your own deal to do that, you could look at this, how did they implement this? And it's probably just some sort of a case deal based upon timestamp minus now, print this, or this,
If you made,
format it, S print, F.
you could maybe make another structure where time is just a string.
But
And
then
you
yeah,
do
you
all your
have to do a
functions.
create a whole second structure and convert
Exactly.
everything.
Yeah.
It's like in this case, it's much more convenient to be able to just attach it to the template and have
Yeah.
the template do it.
So that's cool. That was a good one. And we saw getting out doing the ancestor query. I think that's another important piece of that. And Schmidt params are good to look at. So let me show you that. So you know what? For the Schmidt params, right here, this is just all Schmidt. I like saying that for some reason. This is all Schmidt. And I did it in a couple of steps. And so you can look at the final step here, just to sort of like illustrate how's that working. And so this is old school listen and serve, no app engine, and listening on 8080. And then, if I go here, I go to index. If I go here, I go to index. And then up at index, I'm passing in parameters. And so the parameters is a slice. And so if the length of my slice is not equal to 0, meaning there's something there, right, I'm going to print out, try to get a parameter name, which is calling that, right? So right here I'm labeling anything that comes in at this place, right after the root. That's going to be a parameter. That's how I tell it's going to be a parameter. And this is the name, right, coming in through the URL. And I'm going to get it out by that value. So anything at that place comes out that value. I'm going to pass it in here and print it, and file print it back to W, and then exit. Otherwise, I'll show welcome. And so if I go and look at that, I think that's 35. Yeah, 3504. My main. It's running. And localhost 8080, right? It's firing up.
It should be ready by now.
Localhost 8080. There we go. All right. Welcome. Caleb. Daniel. Shannon. Did I spell it right? All right, I'm going to stop Todd. Ooh, cool. What happens if it's like something else? Not found.
There's an alternate option. You could put colon means single value, and then there's something else that means rest of string.
Can I do that?
No.
Why wouldn't it
it's
get caught there?
It's something instead of colon. Julian Schmidt does not have the
The
continuous.
default? Ah.
Yeah.
Forgotten colon name.
So so there's colon name, which colon basically means next parameter is whatever's in this spot. Any further slashes is still not found. And there's something else. I think is it ampersand? You have to look it up on Godoc.
Schmidt.
So name's a keyword, not a variable name. So you
It
can't
is
just
a
put
var-
anything.
No, it is a variable
Oh,
name.
okay.
He's putting colon name, and that's the name that word name. It's in a map, I think, actually.
Okay,
And
that's what
that's
I
the
thought
key.
when you look it up in the.
Yeah.
By name, yeah.
So there's that.
Name parameters. Scroll down. Okay, catch-all parameters. Okay, asterisk. So you put asterisk and then a variable name. That means rest of it, including any further slashes and beyond.
Oh, so let's try that. Number 5.
So that'll let you get back to the functionality that you had with the basic servmux. If you need that general, I need everything starting here going on. No care what's further down.
So I put an asterisk here.
Yep. My goodness, why does it not want to connect?
Because I have an error.
Okay.
22.
22, which is
Or catch-all conflicts with existing handle for path segment Ruth and path name.
because now it doesn't know which one of these two. Yeah, there we go.
At least he has good error messages.
Yeah, that's nice. So note that it catches the slash.
Yeah.
Cool. So fun to play with. Nuances. All right, very good, y'all. We'll see you Thursday for more fun. And email on Thursday. Maybe something more. That's what we'll learn, doing email with App Engine. You're like, email? You want me to email you?
Yeah, the outgoing email, not the incoming email.